Morning, everyone. So it is 9 a.m. We're going to get started. There's still several people that need to come in, but they may have to wait a little while. So we're going to continue work on the cabinet today. And let's take a look at what we want to get done. Hopefully, if we can. So here's where we are right now. We've got the lower cabinet constructed. I still need to do the extra 2 drawers. Got the upper cabinet, the 2 doors constructed. Okay. I have, hold on, I got people trying to come in. That's not annoying at all. All right, so previously I had, let's go to the next page so you guys can see this. All right, at a previous time, I'd cut all these strips. And what these are is these are cleats, all right? These cleats are gonna allow movement of these little racks. So a cleat, all it really is, it's about a 1/2 inch thick. I think it's 1.5 inches wide, and it's got this 45 degree on it. Okay, so those are all cut, and I just cut them to length this morning. So that's been done. So, and I also did not find or could not find these bar magnets, these stupid bar magnets to go across here. So what I've done is got a bunch of little 1/4 inch diameter rare earth magnets, and once we figure out where the tooling is going to hang on certain cleats, then it's really easy to just add the little magnets at a later time if we have other things we want to hang there. Okay, so I've got these guys cut to the right length. I've also I've also drilled some holes in here to mount them to the cabinet. I've got one more left to do. Here's kind of what we're going to try and do. We're going to switch to the drill press. I'll drill one more. I'll tell you a couple things about what's going on. And then we're going to mount these guys in the cabinet. At least we'll get these 3 in the large cabinet portion mounted. And then my hope is that I can get this guy right here created. Okay, I've got the material already at 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. We'll have to cut a bevel on it. And I've also got the pieces for these rear cleats thickness, and all I need to do is rip to width and then cut to length. So we're going to start over here, excuse me, at the drill press, and I'm going to stop this screen share. All right, stop. And I've got 2 more people that want to get in, and Colin. All right, so we're gonna go over the drill press real quick. It's only gonna take a second over at the drill press. Okay. At least it should focus. All right, so I won't really be able to see what's going on. We've only got like one of these guys to do. So basically, I've already, these have been cut to length. I preset the depth on this countersink bit because we're using 3/4 inch screws. I didn't want them going through the back of the cabinet. I wanted to stick it up the back. So I've got a preset depth on here with our depth stop. It's all ready to go. All we have to do, the drill holes are marked where we want them. Stop where I want it. And there's that. All right. So that's the drilling process. Hopefully you enjoyed that. That was that was just fun as heck. All right, a couple things about these little cleats, and I'll kind of show you how they're supposed to work. Let's get back over here. Oops, that's the wrong one. All right, so let me show you a couple things about these cleats that are interesting, and you can kind of see how they're going to work. Okay, so the way these guys work, and I've actually had some things hanging on the wall at my house that I use the same deal. So this little cleat's got this little 45-degree angle on it right here. And whatever we're going to mount to this is going to have a complementary cleat mounted to the back of it. So it's going to slip on just like that. Okay. Now, a couple things about mounting screws. Okay. The mounting screws I'm using, let me get the remote. The mounting screws I'm using are not strong, okay? In other words, I did a test hole in one of these guys a little earlier, and I'll show you what's going on. The head of the screw snapped off, okay? Right? See this little guy sticking out here? There's no head on it. The head of the screw snapped off. So what I'm doing, it's going to alleviate this and make it better. These are pretty small screws, okay? They're pretty, I hope you guys can see that. They're pretty tiny little screws. So what I'm going to do is these 3 long ones that we have right here, they're going to go in the center. I've got some regular old 1 1/4 inch length hardwood screws that we're going to pre-tap. All right, we're basically going to use these to pre-tap a hole in here. I did one already and it worked great, but it'll save us snapping these little screws off in there because that could be really bad. So it's basically just a matter of, let me grab one of these already. Just a matter of driving this in. Bringing it back out. All right, so this one's ready to go. Basically what I like to do is, especially on these smaller screws, take a little bit of paraffin, candle wax, this is the stuff they use to seal candy stuff. I can go ahead and run this in there. You need to get in there. Okay. So there's one, it looks like it's going to be fine. I'm going to go ahead and set the screws in there so that when we're ready to mount. You guys are still here doing the lights. They're doing LEDs in the classroom right now. Doing the Bunky's classroom next door as well. Okay, so I'm going to have these, so just the very tip of the screw sticking out. All right, so now the problem is, where do we mount these? Okay, so I'm considering one being about right here. I think I may only do 2 in this upper. Doing one right around here, which is going to put us at, let's see where we are. I think we're going to go 4 inches. So the easiest way to get this in here and make sure that it's level and parallel to the shelves without one end being canted down or something like that is we're going to take, see if this goes. We're going to take, since I want 4 inches, basically what we're going to do is we're just going to take a piece of particle board. All right. We're going to rip it at 4 inches wide. So that now what we can do is use this to set that shelf up. I cannot remember from like buttons. Bring it back over here, but there it goes. All right, so what we've got, I don't know if you guys can turn this so you guys can see a little bit. So here's our cleat. Okay, I'm just gonna set this in there. And that's gonna allow me to place my cleat exactly where I want it. And that's a really snug fitting cleat there, folks, just in case you didn't know. Come on, drop. All right, so we're snug down on the top of that. And it's simply a matter of hopefully one. All right, so there's our first cleat. Okay. So what it is these other cleats that'll be attached to the back of whatever we're hanging there. They just lock in like that. 45 that's on these. Okay, mesh in 45 on that. So you can move them anywhere you want. Okay, and I've got like 3 each for the end pieces here, like that. Okay, so here's the trick now. All right, I'm going to move this thing around to the table saw. All right, let's get over here. So now what we need to do is a couple things. All right, so I've got material. Oh, I got Lily. Okay, so what I have at the table saw here is, let me get the plans back up. Okay, is I have this material right here that's already 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, but it's just square right now. Okay, I also have these cleats that mount to the back of these. They're a little bit different. The other cleats that mount inside the cabinet are 1.5 inches wide as opposed to 1 inch. These are just 1 inch. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to get this to 1 3/4 inches. People still coming in here. They're getting kicked out and then trying to come back in. Okay, so I want to get a piece to 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, and I think I'm going to do a couple pieces because we might be able to use them for something else as well. All right, and then we can go ahead and set the blade at 45 degrees. I believe that's 45. Yes, it is. Here's the view right here, and we can rip this bevel on it, and at the same time we can put the bevel on these smaller cleats that mount to the back of these. Okay, so that's what we got right now. We're going to rip to 1 3/4. I've already got a thickness to 1 3/4, and then we're going to set the blade at 45 degrees and cut these bevels and cut some bevels on these little guys here. So that's where we are right now. Let's see if we can do it without hurting ourselves. Okay, so what we need is this guy that's 1 3/4 thick. We need to do 1 3/4 wide. Lay it a 1/4 inch above your material as usual. And our little tape here on the fence rail is so worn out under 2 inches that we have to set this manually. So all you do is put the end of the blade up against the fence, bring it to the right side of the tube, lock it down. All right, so I got a push stick here, ready to go. So there's our 2 blocks. I just made an extra one because I can. Now we've got to get the blade to 45. We crank the blade all the way up. Really, the only reason we crank the blade all the way up is so that this little guy, which is magnetic on the side, will stick to the blade. So the first thing you do is turn it on, set it on the table, make sure it zeros. Okay, then it goes on the blade. If we're lucky, that should be at 90. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can get 45 out of this thing. You know, you guys can talk, you know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking while I'm doing this. This thing needs a little maintenance. All right, there's our 40, not 45. Dead on, right there. Okay, so there's our 45. We've got a couple parts to do with this angle. The first one, look at the plans here, so I know where to put it. So it looks like All right, so let's see if they have, so they say 1 3/16 in from the back and up from the front edge should delineate the 45. So 1 3/16, my handy dandy little sliding square. All right, I'm going to mark it on this end so I can see it. Yeah, 1 3/16. That's what we want. All right, so marked. Well, that's not much of a bevel. They call for. All right, so back to the table saw. Basically, I'm just going to line this up by eye. Drop this blade a little bit. The less blade exposed, the better. This is a fairly small cut. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and set it where I want. All right, so there's what I want. All right, should cut through. I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other one. All right, so there's our two blocks, right, that have a little bevel on them that will hold our Forstner bits. And so now I have some material prepped here for those other cleats, and they are 1 inch wide, if I'm not mistaken. There's somebody else trying to get in. Okay, so they're 1 inch wide. I'm going to look real quick. Yeah, 1 inch wide to the end of the bevel. Okay, so that's pretty good. That should be easy. So what I want to do is 1 inch wide to the end of the bevel. Okay, got 1 inch. These are pretty small. There's our 1 inch wide. And here's our bevel. So these have a 45-degree on them, thankfully. It is a lot brighter in here since they put those lights in. It's kind of nice, actually. I don't know if you guys can tell or not. If it's different, looks different in here. Probably not on camera, but. All right, so there's our little mark. I don't know if you guys can see it. There are little marks on there. I made that backwards for what I want. Nope. What we want. Bevel. Drop that. Go into it. So let's see if we got that work. Let's get that plastic one. All right, that's going to get us quite a few. Okay. So a couple things about these cleats. And I found this out this morning. Playing around with it. One of the problems with these cleats is when you cut this bevel, on here, okay, that little 45 degree angle, that is a seriously sharp edge. All right. So basically, what I'm going to do before I do any installs or anything like that is I'm going to take a hand plane. I'm just going to ease these corners a little bit so they're not so sharp. I mean, they're sharp enough to cut you. It takes a little bit, but I'll take some time over the course of tonight or tomorrow morning and soften all those sharp edges. All right, so the next thing we have to do is this, and this is kind of interesting. And I'm not going to bore you guys with the setup for this, but this should be interesting. So what we have is a situation where, I'm going to move this a little bit. That's the wrong way, Brandon. Okay, so what we have is a situation here where we're going to drill down. Let me show you the plans real quick. Well, there's no need. We're going to drill down this way to place Forstner bits. All right. We also have to drill here to be able to place Forstner bits. So we've got to be able to get it on that surface. And there's no way with a flat drill press table to hold this up like this and be able to drill into that surface. All right. So what we have is this jig we've had around for years. Right? It's really not much of a jig. It is a jig, but so taking this little 45 trough jig, whatever you want to call it, and placing this in it, that's going to allow us to drill down into this surface. Okay, so that's what's going to get us the holes here for the other bits. Because when you look at these plans, okay, right, they're just like this. Let's go back a page. Okay, and this is what we're trying to accomplish here is having these angled out like this. Okay, so we've got that. We'll create a block for this. We'll create a block for this. I've already got, 3 shelves. So we've got up to 3 shelves that can move. We'll have another block for VIX bits, I think. That can sit somewhere. I'm not sure. We don't really use spade bits. These things are more for in construction and things like that. Rough work. They're not really fine work bits. So we probably won't put any of those in there, but we might be able to find something else that applies directly to the drill press that we can put in there and hopefully not lose them. Okay. So what's next? All right, so next I will get another, I'm only going to do 2 cleats in this front. I'll probably do 2 to 3 in the side cabinets. There's room in these side cabinets for 3 cleats. The shelves take up a portion of the room down here. So I'll get 3 cleats in each door. I'll get 2 cleats in the front. I don't know why they have a cleat right here. I guess if you're not using it. So the next trick is to get this, come on, Forstner bit index done. Now that's going to be interesting. Okay, so I have a bit set. Okay. And I'm guessing we have about 16 inches to play with in width in this cabinet. And they're calling for this to be, I don't know how long. This is 16 and a half. Okay, so we actually have 16 and 9/16 to play with. That's what these cleats were cut to. It's right at 16 and 9/16. So they're snug. So here's the trick, man. Somehow, let me get rid of this share. Okay. So our length on this, let's call it 16 and a half. Okay, so I'm going to real quick just run over and go ahead and cut this on the miter saw, and we'll see how it fits in. So excuse me for 1 second while I go cut this board. One of the door cabinet doors. Okay, that's kind of nice. See, that's a freebie. You get a free little block that'll fit in the door. Okay, so let's double check and make sure that this will fit in the cabinet. I'm sure we're not. So this is going to sit about like that. Okay. Now that's really weird because I want to show you guys something. Look at this bit set. I'm not sure I understand how that's going to work. We may have to shim that forward a little bit. Let's take a look. So this is one of the reasons you fit and refit and refit. So the largest diameter bit, I don't know if you guys can see me. Let me turn this around so I can tell if you see me. Okay. So the largest diameter bit that we have is 2 1/8 inches in diameter. And these suckers are in there. Come on. Come on there. All right, so imagine if this bit, okay, it's going to fit in there. It fits. Okay. Boy, that's close. Okay, so it does fit. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I was worried that it was going to hit the back and not fit in these holes because the larger bits go across the back. So when I, come on, that's a good fit, folks. So here's the tricky part. Okay. Somehow I need to make sure that their measurements will work for us. Okay, so I just happen to have, go figure, a set of the plans right here. So let's try their measurements first. Let's see how they're going to work. All right. You guys with me? Morning. Can you see me? You know, when I was leaving the house this morning, we had a hall mirror in our house. And just so you know, when I walked by the mirror, I realized it happened again. You know what I mean? I got better looking. So here's our measurements. Ha ha ha, Brad, you're funny. So 1 11/16. Wait a minute, they're going from here. They're going this way. 1 11/16. Let's see what they're doing here. Okay, and then 2 5/16. 2 and 2 1/8. So I think I told you guys that I wasn't going to sit here and measure this out, but make you watch. But I don't have anything else to do. So you're stuck with me. 1 15/16 is the next one. 1 13/16. And 11/16. See, I did that. Flip my tape around, otherwise it's going to fall. 1 5/8. 5/8. And 1 9/16. doing this is I want the opportunity to double check our actual bits and make sure the spacing is going to work. So all I really have to do is take the two largest bits, set them on my marks. So our biggest one is 2 1/8. Then this next one is 2. And these things are pretty sharp, folks. Come on. These marks are centered. So there will be one there, there'll be one there. Plenty of room, okay? So there's our spacing. And we're going, this makes no sense. Huh. So there's the ones on the bevel. I think they don't draw this out real well. Yeah, so that's got to be 7/8. Let's see what that does. Let's see what's. I'm worried about how it's going to center along this face. And they say 7/8. So let's see where that puts us. Wow, that's not going to work. That's what they want. Let's try it on 1. It's supposed to be a 3/8 diameter hole. I can't see my. I can fairly easily check it. So it's supposed to be a 3/8 diameter hole. What's the half of 3/8, everyone? 3/16, right? Well, that's gonna work. Okay. And 3/8 should get us in the ballpark with these. Yep. So do you guys know why? Okay, if you look at this bit, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you see this larger diameter shank as opposed to this diameter here that actually chucks in the bit. You know why they're like that? And if you go down here to the little ones, okay, this portion is actually larger diameter than this portion. The reason they do that, and the reason this is a 3/8 inch diameter hole, is so that any of these bits can be chucked into a 3/8 drill chuck. And what that means is they can fit in these small drills. Now, I wouldn't chuck a bit this large in a small bit like this, unless I was very confident in what I was doing. Even more dangerous would be to chuck one of these large diameter bits into a corded drill instead of a cordless drill, because a corded drill, the 1/2 inch corded drills or the 3/8 corded drills that we have a lot of torque. It'll sprain your wrist in a heartbeat. If this bit catches in the wood, it's going to twist your wrist off. So the larger bits really are not conducive to using in a handheld drill. They're really intended for drill presses. That being said, you can do it, but I wouldn't want to. But yeah, that's just so that they can fit into a 3/8 drill. And that's all that is. When you look at drills at a store, you see one says 3/8, one says a 1/2 inch drill. That's just the maximum diameter that can fit into the chuck, okay, which is the little guy right there that it fits into, all right? So there's that, all right? Well, I'm going to do something here and make some headway. I've already got some marks here, so we're just going to go ahead and go to the drill press, and let's see how this works out. I have a spare in case I totally jack this up, okay? And how deep are we supposed to go? 1/2 inch deep, all right? So I need a 3/8 diameter bit. That's a 1/4, I'm guessing. Oh, that's 3/8. All right, so let's go to the drill press. There it goes. All right, that gets us to the drill press. Okay. So we've got a 3 expander bit. We want to go a 1/2 inch. Okay. Hopefully this might work this far away. Okay. Change bits. Try to stand so you don't scare me. Unlock the table before you lower or raise it. Get stuff in there. So you know the drill press we have are 1/2 inch stuff. So it's about the biggest bit they make. So down a little bit more. Lock the table. Now we want to go a 1/2 inch deep. So really the easiest way to do that, set a mark at the edge of the board somewhere with a 1/2 inch. And all we have to do is bring the bit down to our 1/2 inch mark, right about there. Set that stop. Okay, we're ready to go. And there's a center point on the bit that when the bit's turned on, you can actually see the tip. So you can line up the mark. I don't want to be as accurate as I can with this. Now I can actually raise the speed on this bit, the small diameter bit. So we tend to run our smaller diameter bits at a higher RPM than larger bits. If you guys know it or not, I'm not sure you do, but this particular drill press is programmable. You can actually appear on the screen, go through the process of telling it the type of bit you're using, the diameter of the bit, as well as the type of wood you're drilling into, and it will automatically set the speed of the bit. So that's one of those things that's kind of nice to be able to do, because the worst thing for a bit or a blade is heat. The hotter one these things gets, the quicker it goes. So we want to avoid heat if we can. And this is awful, but it's something like maple or something like that. It can get real hot and dull that bit pretty quickly. All right, so let's get you back over here, I think. Yep. So here's our block. Let's see how it's going to work. See if I can fit the way we want. I'm assuming we're going to. Damn. This is right there. There's these little plastic sleeves here that they seem to like pressed into. It's crazy. That's going to get a little bit weird spacing. These two don't seem to be spaced right. But I went by their drawings. You saw me. I didn't try to change things up at all. Damn. Come on. Come on. Why did we do that? All right, so there's our first set. Okay, so that bad boy, all right, is gonna mount right in there. So we're gonna have these out by the drill presses now, which is actually kind of cool. So all I have to do is I'll drill these holes, which I believe are spaced in between these other holes, and I think it's gonna work. Okay, so I'll try and get some more things prepped so that you don't have to watch me do silly stuff as much. and we'll try and get some of these blocks mounted in there. I'll work on the rest of the drawers. That's something I have to do. But we'll get some cleats mounted in there, and we'll make some other drill blocks. Okay. All right. So let me come back over here. All right, folks. So thank you very much for being here. Make sure your name gets in the chat window. Take care of yourselves tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. All right. Have a good Tuesday.